नमस्ते गुरुजी। जय गुरुजी महाराज। जय गुरुजी साथ संगत जी। With folded hands, we thank you our Guruji Maharaj for enabling us organizing Satsang Seva today. Today we are fortunate to have with us dear BABOO SANDHU ji, who will be sharing her journey with Guruji Maharaj. Sangat ji, as we all are always keen to deepen our connection with Guruji Maharaj, we are looking forward to hear your blessings from Guruji Maharaj. Babu ji, Jai Guruji, over to you.
Jai Guruji, Jai Guruji. First of all, thank you, Mr. Vasan, for giving me this opportunity to share the beautiful moments we spent with our revered Guruji. And I welcome the entire Sangat from wherever you are in the whole world. No matter what our backgrounds are, no matter our religion, our language, our spiritual leanings, we all have the same heart, which is yearning or looking for guidance. So I welcome you all. Thank you for opening your hearts, your minds to today's satsang. They say when the disciple is ready, the master will appear. So I will tell you of a journey which unfolded, keeping this in mind that when the disciple is ready, the master appears. It happened in the case of my husband. To be very honest, I was just a happy-go-lucky army wife, too busy in my life with the children, with the other commitments, happily spending my life. But my husband always had a spiritual leaning. In fact, he was on the lookout for a guru. His father, who was a very spiritual being, had told him that to advance spiritually, you need a live guru, a living guru. So he had been on a lookout, and strangely, I became instrumental in finding a Guruji for us, for him, for myself, even though I was really not inclined spiritually. I mean, one was always thanking God, one was always, doing the right things, trying to be a good human being. But spirituality was really not in my life at that time. So MP, my husband's elder brother and his bhabhi, they had been Guruji's followers for quite some time. In fact, at times they would mention that their son-in-law had been cured by Guruji, healed by Guruji. And we would wonder what's wrong with these people. Either the God heals a person of such a severe or bad ailment, or the doctors would help. What do gurus have to do with this? And we all knew the kind of gurus and, sadhus that were making the rounds and were much in news. So we didn't believe them. In fact, we would roll our eyes and we'd look at each other, thinking what's wrong with them. So that was the kind of closed mind we had at that time. Not only that, my husband, being an army officer, was posted in Chennai Mandir. And once or twice we heard people talk about a Guruji who helped people, um, with their promotions in the army. So again, like the closed mind we had, we rolled our eyes and that was it. So in doing so, we wasted 10 years of our lives of depriving ourselves of Guruji's beautiful company, his blessings, or so we think. I feel Guruji's Sangat or his lotus feet can be gained only when he ordains, and it's not your wish. Maybe we were not ready. I don't know. I've never really thought much about it. I would just say that our time had not come. So when we were posted to Delhi, which was our last posting before retirement, his brother and Bhabhi came to Delhi. His Bhabhi also happens to be my real Bua. So they came home and they stayed with us, and a vehicle was organized for them to go to Guruji. And I've always wondered what made me say, I had no inclination, honestly. I don't know what made me say, Auntie, maybe chalu, shall I come along? So she was very happy. She said, Yes, please do. So we went, and I always feel it was definitely not the curiosity. I have no idea what made me say, and I went along also. So sitting there, I looked around, and Guruji used to be in the Empire Estate those days. So sitting there, I was mesmerized by all that was going on there. Guruji sat on his throne, gazing at everyone, and beautiful hymns were being sung. The Sikh Maryada hymns from our holy book, Guru Granth Sahib Ji, were being sung. This is a collection of uh, hymns written by a number of saints of all religions. So I think that is what puts everybody at peace, that these are the scriptures which have been written by very highly evolved souls, and it is acceptable to all. So probably that I shouldn't actually even think what Guruji thought, but what came to my mind was that that is how probably it is acceptable to all. So these are very beautifully sung with the ancient ragas, and they're very pleasing to the ears. And at that time, it was just that. Later on, of course, I realized that they are so pleasing, and you feel, yes, you are so mesmerized sitting there in Guruji's presence, listening to these hymns, because they've been blessed by his energy. They're charged with this energy. And this one slowly realized. And as I looked around, I saw so much of peace on everybody's face. And nobody was really interested who all are there. And it was creme de la creme of Delhi, let me tell you. You know, when you glanced around, you saw many faces that you only see on the TV or, higher ups in every sphere, and be it government or army or bureaucracy or whatever. So, as later on we started going, we realized nobody was interested or nobody was impressed by who was there, because our focus was always Guruji, you know, and Guruji would sit quietly, and these kirtans were being recorded kirtans were being played, and that is how it carried on for an hour and a half or so, and then langar, which is the divine food, was served by Guruji, and everybody sat in rows. And now, in the rows, there were four people sitting together. Those four people could be anybody from any strata of life. As the hall was not too large, suddenly there would be commotion, and people would adjust themselves. They would just, turn around and make rows facing each other. and a mat was put in the center. And now those four people could be anybody. And there have been times when our own driver or our helper in the army sat across, very uncomfortable, and we would tell them that in this darbar, there we are all equal. So we would put them at ease. It happens so many times. People have seen the highest in the army, the defense minister, and the lowest in the army, a Jawan, sitting across each other, enjoying that langar. So that was Guruji's way of bringing down everybody's ego and telling you that in this darbar, there are no big people, there are no mediocre people. You are all alike. And we all sat at his feet, enjoying his blessings and so much more. So this was our first experience. That was the first time I went with them. The second time, again, somebody came from the family and they wanted to go. So again, a vehicle was organized and they said, Uncle, why don't you come along to my husband? So he said, fine. Okay, by then he had heard from us also. He had heard many satsangs from the others as well. So he said, fine. So he came along. So when we went there, Guruji had not yet arrived at his seat. And uh, like I said, Empire State um, sitting room was not very large. So the entire Sangat was packed into this hall, and slowly it would keep filling, and you had to sort of squeeze yourselves to take as little space as possible. So that was not possible for my husband. He has a bamboo back, ankylosing spondylitis. So that was making him uncomfortable. So he just got up and he went out. And there he's roaming up and down the road, a little vexed because we were taking long. When Guruji came, the satsang carried on. And then Guruji said, you have to have langar and go. So we enjoyed the langar. So by then, he's roaming around outside and is telling the helpers at home, warm up my food, keep it in the hot case. I'm coming back home and eating, and also chill 2 beers or bottle for me. So just then, as we were taking permission from Guruji, Guruji says, where is the general? He knew that the general was roaming around outside in a not a very happy state. So he was summoned in. As soon as he came in, Guruji said, he made a gesture at me that there he is, though, even though he was fourth, fifth in the queue. And nobody could tell who's who, but Guruji, of course, knew everything. So he said, there he is. So when he bowed down in front of Guruji, Guruji said, he said a few things which were absolutely correct, and no way anybody could have told him. He told him, you are from the Armored Corps, and you have a big ego. And when he shook his head, said, no, no, you have a big ego. And then he made a sort of a joke, a little crack. This was probably to bring his ego a few notches down. He says, oh, you're a Sandhu. Sandhus are court jesters. So now this could be a little, offending thing for Jatsik to hear, but good sense prevailed and he just bowed down his head. And then within a few seconds, Guruji told him, he said, he let him know that I know about your life, I know about your family in very few words and very few clipped short words. He said, Siddhus, uh, Kudums, meaning Samdis, which is our daughters-in-laws, They are Siddhus, and your son-in-law is a twin of one of the twins, and they live in Sector 16, Chandigarh. So we heard that, and we were a little taken aback, but that was that. So Guruji would do things like this. He could read everything when a person came in front of him, whether what was going on in his life, his mind, his emotions, everything. So he asked him to sit down and he asked him to have langar, which he enjoyed. And that was the day after that. There was no looking back. So we would be at Guruji's Darbar every Thursday, from Thursday to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all 4 days. Guruji was extremely kind. He would make us sit for a very long time. And during those times, we saw so many miracles take place, so many people being healed, uh, people who came with any kind of problems. Guruji would solve them, and in very strange ways. If a person was suffering from diabetes, Guruji would make him eat a whole lot of Indian sweets, which are actually loaded with sugar. And, there were women who had no wombs, had children. There were people whose cancers were cured, the skin cancers, other cancers, the heart problems. With our own eyes, we saw these people being healed and become devout disciples of Guruji. And every time Guruji healed somebody, he would take the entire problem over himself. This we've seen with our own eyes. Even you may have seen his pictures. One day you go, his skin is glowing and rosy and perfect. And the next day you would see a whole lot of marks on his head, on his face, and bags under his eyes. And then he would go into his meditation and clear all the ill effects, and then he'd be ready again to heal others. And people who've been in his seva, the helpers who would help him, we've heard them so often tell us that when Guruji does a major healing, he vomits blood, you know. So that was our Guruji. He had come just to bless people, to take care of them, remove their negativity, remove their problems. And the few simple messages he gave were be good, be a good human being, cleanse yourself from inside, don't be negative. If you can help others, help them. Otherwise, don't destroy anybody's life. Don't harm anybody. If you can help, well and good. Otherwise, don't harm. Don't harm anybody. And he would also tell you to do charity and do charity without blowing your trumpet. He would always say, if you're giving with your right hand, I don't know, that there is a theory that you either give it right or left. I always get confused that if you give with one hand, your second hand should not know what you've done. So same with leading a simple life. And he wanted you to build faith in what he was doing. And if you had faith, your life was taken care of. I know for ourselves, ever since we came into Guruji's fold, there has been no looking back. Firstly, there is no fear in our lives because we know He's there taking care of everything. He would always say that karma is something you have to work at yourself. He says, even that, I leave only 10% for you people to go through. I take 90% of it on myself, and 10% you have to go through. You have to clear your karma. And even for that, I'm right beside you. I have your back, and you have nothing to worry. So that's our Guruji. That is how he took care of us in every way. So ever since Guruji came into our lives, there have been no fears. Their life is beautiful. Life is peaceful. And I always say we do not have much, but in terms of peace and tranquility and love for Guruji, we are very rich people. We are, like somebody said, Elon Musk has become a trillionaire. We are even beyond that with Guruji's grace. We don't need much. We just need Guruji in our lives, and that's it. So, yes, there was something very special about Guruji. That was his fragrance. Now, when we went initially, we were told about the fragrance that you smell. And we were very skeptical. In fact, I would always look around. Where is there an incense stick? Is there some, perfume being sprayed or what? But slowly one learned to realize that that was his blessing. The best thing was that if two people are sitting together, one would get it, a nice strong whiff, and the other would not. And that was Guruji's way of telling you that he's blessing you, he's with you. And this would happen anywhere in the world you may be. Even if you were thousands of miles apart, if Guruji wanted to show his presence, you would get his bit. It's a very strange kind of perfume. There are different perfumes that people have been experiencing. There is a rose perfume, and there is a very floral Indian. It's difficult to explain, but it's a very distinct perfume. So that is the way Guruji shows his presence, that he's blessing. So many people, when they've been in trouble and they've remembered him with all their heart, they have experienced that fragrance. And this is something so many people have experienced. So that was one. And initially, when we went, my husband would not get that whiff. I would, my son would. But in fact, when we came home, even our clothes smelled of that fragrance. And if you were fortunate enough to have the seva of pressing his feet or his hands, your hands smelt of a beautiful fragrance for days. People wouldn't wash their hands for fear of losing it. And I've had that experience just once in my life, but it was so beautiful. It was so divine. So now I'll tell you about how Guruji helped us. There were two healings. My personal experience, I'll tell you about that. Um, we'd been going to Guruji for about a month by then. And I had this condition of Meniere's disease. This is a very annoying, debilitating problem where, because of the fluid in your inner ear, the crystals move around and they give you vertigo. They Your life is a mess because you never feel fine. You are never without the dizziness. At times, the intensity is less, other times it's more. I had been suffering from this for the past 18 years when we went to Guruji. I was sort of used to it. When the attacks came, they would last for about 7, 8 days, and slowly they would peter off. And but you never really felt fine because the words were always jumping in front of you. Even if you turned around, you got a little dizzy. So this was a part of my life, and I never even thought of asking Guruji to heal me. So then began a big attack. So I had not had such a miserable attack for the past 18 years that I had at that time. And I was laid up in bed. There was one medicine. Let me tell you that I tried all the doctors, every big, small, homeopathic, everything I tried. Nothing had worked. So when I got this spell, there was one homeopathic medicine which would marginally, help me. And that I carried on having all along. Imagine for 18 years, I was just having that homeopathic medicine. So when this attack happened, something came to my mind. I'm sure Guruji must have put it in my mind that it's time for you to be free of this problem. And Guruji made my resolve strong. Uh, I just picked up the medicines and I threw them in a bin. And in my mind's eye, I told Guruji, I said, Guruji, enough of this medicine. I'm not having it again. If you heal me, fine. Otherwise, I'll never tell you. I won't come and tell you. But if you heal me, it's fine. Even otherwise, it's fine. I just said that, and the attack became so severe, where the intensity earlier would be, say 7, 7.5, and it would settle down to about 3 or 3.5 to 2.5 to 3.5 in my daily life. That time it went up to about 9.5. I was miserable. But there was no letting up. And my husband would scold me. He said, why don't you have the medicine? And why are you testing Guruji? So I said, no, I don't take the credit of having a strong resolve. We are weak. I'm sure it was Guruji's grace who was testing me. And he said, be brave, be strong. So I carried on. And 15 days continuously I suffered. But I always forget in one of those days during those 15 days, third, fourth, fifth, I don't know, I dreamt of Guruji. I dreamt, it was a short dream. Until date, I remember it so clearly. I dreamt that I see him in a frame in my bedroom picture on the wall. And then suddenly it moves forward. It moves forward and it becomes a full length mirror. It becomes a full length mirror where Guruji is standing and I see him full length. And then slowly he turns around. He turns around and he puts his hand behind his head and he is rotating it like this. And that was it. That was all I saw. And that was it. Now, we know that Guruji's dreams are actual visitations. This, by then, we were very clear in our minds that when you have a dream, Guruji's visited you. So that again strengthened my resolve. It made me think Guruji is going to heal me. And believe you me, on the 16th day, when I woke up, my life was changed. Whereas I always moved my head very slowly in the mornings for the fear of the attack coming on, and I never woke up fresh. I never ever was without this heaviness in the head or the noise in my ears. And I wake up and everything is just perfect, like it was 20 years back. So I was sort of taken aback, and then I moved my head slowly and then, you know, vigorously. And that was the end. That was the last time I got this. And I'll tell you, a few years from now, I again got dizziness. And I said, Guruji, what is this? And once in a while, uh, I would have a slight dizziness in the morning and it would be over by the evening. So I always thought, I said, Guruji always says 90% I'll take upon myself. So I would think maybe this is the 10% that I have to, it was nothing, absolutely nothing compared to what I used to have. So I didn't mind that. In fact, I would enjoy the little round. I would enjoy the little ride. And but then my daughter-in-law, she said, Mama, you say there is no cure for this. It's been so many years, over 30 years now. Why don't you go have yourself checked? I'm sure there is advancement in every medical field now. Let's go have it checked. We had it checked. Now they have their own ways of testing whether you have manias or not. So he did all those tests. He even checked my hearing and he said, Did you say you have manias? I said, Yes. So he said, Did you say you've had it for what, 18 plus 20? He said, You've had it for so many years. I said, Yes. And how often have you been to the doctor for this? I said, Not since the past 20 years. He couldn't believe. He said, Firstly, this is not manias. I've done every test. It is not manias. Your hearing is fine. All the tests that I've carried on, it is not manias. The dizziness that you're feeling could be because of spondylitis. It could be for other reason. Now, he was an ENT specialist. He said, Have it checked. It is definitely not manias. Again, you think, Guruji, really? When you sort out a problem, you sort it out for good. And how grateful we are. Every second of the day, we bow in gratitude because He's there taking care of us. Every need, every problem, He's protecting each and every person in the family. He would always say, if one person in the family comes to me, the whole family is taken care of. So that is our wonderful Guruji. And, the second healing I have to tell you is about my eyes. Again, this was the last of our last year of our, days. And suddenly I developed this problem in the eyes when eyes were bloodshot and very painful and very, very, very inflamed. So when we went to the doctor, eye specialist, he said it is choroiditis, again, a very progressive disease, and it can lead to blindness. And he said that the only cure is having steroids. And he said the only problem is when you have steroids, at times the latent TB in your body gets activated. So I was even more concerned. And, we used to go to Guruji very often. So when we went, the people, my friends, it was very clear that I have a serious problem with my eyes. So when the friends asked, I said this. So they said, why don't you go and tell Guruji? So I told them, I said, no way, Guruji, nay, unko. No, he knows, Guruji knows. She said, nonsense. Why aren't you going and telling? Guruji, of course, knows, but you need to request him. So she went. I have, honest to God, till date, not asked Roma whether she went and told Guruji or not. But I was happy, crafty people that we are, that, okay, Guruji, I didn't tell you, but you know now you have to do something. So when I was taking leave, I looked at Guruji and Guruji was quiet. He said nothing. So I sat beseechingly looking at him. And then he says, what does your doctor say? I said, you were tongue-tied in front of good. I wish I had so many things to say. At times you would be brave enough to say something, but usually you were quiet. You just wanted to listen to what he had to say. So he says, what does your doctor say? I said, he's saying I have to take steroids. And the TB is positive. It had it tested by then. I said, the TB test is positive. Guruji says he's talking nonsense. Don't worry. You bring the honey that is lying in your house from your parents' place. Now just imagine, Guruji knew that the honey in my house comes from my parents' farm in Firozpur. Now, who would go around discussing this with Guruji? He knew everything. So next day, I carried a big pot of honey and he blessed it and he said, put it in your eyes, you'll be fine. We came to Chandigarh and we consulted another doctor. Today, I would not. If Guruji's told me to do just that, I would do just that and nothing else. But you know how we are human and we get scared. And becoming blind is not a very pleasant thing. So I'm ashamed of myself, but I did go to the eye specialist who also happened to be a relative. So he checked my eyes. He said, yes, you do have a problem. It's a severe case of choroiditis. Now, this is inflammation of the retina from inside. So he said, there is no other way other than consuming and administering steroids in the eyes. And yes, we'll see. I showed my reluctance. He said, Auntie, there is no other way. You have to have this. And he said, okay, we'll start with a very low dose of steroids and let's see how it works. So he gave me that. And just as we were leaving, I asked him, I said, Doctor, can I put honey in my eyes? And he threw a fit. He said, Auntie, what is wrong with you? You don't realize how bad your eyes are. You want to go blind? If yes, go ahead and put honey. I said, okay. But one had that much faith in our Guruji. I would put the medicine, I had to do that about 6 times in a day. And along with that, twice I would put Guruji's honey. It burned like mad, but I carried on. Third day, I could see my eyes clearing up. Fifth or sixth day, when we went to him, he checked my eyes and he was astounded. I always repeat his exact words. He said, Auntie, do you believe in God? Yes, of course I believe in God. He said, I've never seen such a miraculous healing. He said, this is nothing short of a divine intervention. He said, I have this, so many people come to me with this problem, but the case that I'm going to tell you about is this young lady who has this, and her eyes are not half as bad as yours. And I've been giving a much stronger dose of steroids for the past 6 months, and her eyesight has not even improved 10%. So that is our Guruji. I didn't tell him. I didn't tell him about Guruji. I told him now, after nearly 20 years. I met him somewhere. I sat him down and I said, "Do you remember that conversation?" And then I told him about our Guruji and his healing ways and how benign, how wonderful our Guruji is. And, at that time I said, let him take the credit. And that was it. Till date, my eyes are in perfect condition. Um, all His grace, all His grace. And not just this, He's taken care of us in our lives in every way. Our son is a shippy. During COVID days, early COVID days, when it had begun from China, we were seeing those horror videos of how Chinese people, well, I won't say more, we've all seen those, and they were so scary. And we were all scared that it should not come to India, and it did in a very big way. But, my son, who is a shippy, was sailing China, Korea, Singapore, and his ships were going to China. Guess where? They were touching Wuhan, the epicenter of COVID, and that is, the people would come aboard and whatever, they may have taken precautions. But can you imagine our plight, the family's plight, that our son, his ship is in Wuhan and people are coming. God knows who can bring this aboard and what consequences it can lead to. So, what can you do sitting here? Just bow down in front of Guruji and say, Guruji, he's your child. Not only him, all the boys on the ship, they are in your care. You have to protect them. You have to take care of them. And he did. He did. He did. All the boys came back perfect health. And that's our Guruji. So there are so many instances, two major accidents we had. Two major accidents. The car was written off. First was I was driving when somebody suddenly came in front of me. Trying to save her, I went completely on the wrong side. I was flabbergasted. I lost control. And the car hit a ditch and then it stopped, hitting a pole. And there was a sudden drop, If the ditch had not been there, if the pole had not been there, the car would have toppled over and God knows what would have happened. You won't believe, when people saw the car, it hit the ditch, it hit the pole, and it stopped. And I'm sitting there just shaken, nothing, not honest to God. Guruji's witness, not even a single scratch, no whiplash, nothing. I have no idea how my feet got lifted up. My shoe broke. It probably got caught in the pedals. When I got out of the car, the entire right side of my window had caved in. You couldn't see any of the three pedals. The car had just come in, and people who saw, they said, her legs are gone. Her legs are gone. And they asked me to come out. I said, no, I'm fine. So I just called my family, and my brother came and it took me away. Other than just a shaken lady, there was nothing that had happened. So that is our Guruji. That was one time. Another time, again, we were four of us. A car came and rammed on the side. Again, my brother-in-law is driving, he's sitting in front, I'm sitting behind him. My husband and my sister sitting on the other side. Again, the big vehicle came and rammed into us. The car was pushed about 5 feet away. The whole thing caved in, not a single thing. Yes, my brother in law did get a scratch. It was because he was trying to open the window with his elbow, and the broken metal scratched his arm. Otherwise, nothing. No loss, no loss of money, no loss of limbs, nothing. So that is a Guruji. That is how he protects us. All we have to do is have faith in him, you know. Sangatji, it brings to my mind, I come across so many people, young minds, young people, those young people who were in Guruji's Sangat during his time, they are, they have absolute 100% faith. But the young people who join today, they haven't seen Guruji, they don't know much about him, they don't know his ways, they get confused. They wonder, is he even listening to us? Is he even paying attention to what we are saying? All you need to do is have patience. That is another virtue which he taught us. You need to have patience. You need to have faith. You need to have blind faith. And just remember him, and he's there for you. So, how much more time? I think the time is already up. So, all I need to tell you, people, is have faith in Him and listen to the hymns which He's chosen for you. Let me tell you, we've experienced this. We tried carrying more kirtans because we know the kirtan was played there, but it was never played. Why? Because we were told that Guruji selects each and every hymn himself. So he charges those kirtans with his blessing, with his energy, with his healing powers. To listen to it, he would often lament. He says, I'm not telling you to understand them. You don't need to understand them, you just listen. But those you keep listening, they start understanding them also. And then believe you me, you get your answers from those hymns. If you have any queries in life about anything, about Guruji, about life, about your finances, about any problem you have, you will find them in those hymns when you hear them. So listen to them. During the satsang, play only those. We should not go against the Maryada. We should not go against the guidelines that Guruji said. He never said much, but simplicity in your satsangs, please make them very simple. No need to have very large functions. If you can cook yourself in small functions, serve the food with love, there is nothing better than that. Keep it simple, keep it very austere. We don't need to show our, no, we don't show our wealth. It's just that we get carried away by our love for Him. But we waste so much energy and time in the decor, in lavish food, in lavish surroundings. We don't need to do that. Keep it as simple as possible. See, Guruji's time, the satsangs were absolutely, people would not utter a word. There were no phones ringing, there were no kids screaming, there was no talking, there was no social interaction before, during, or after the satsang. We are there only to receive His grace. We are there only to open our channel so that He can bless us. We waste our time with the ringing phones. In fact, he would always say, when you are, or switch off your phones because it interferes with my blessings. It interferes. And social interaction, no. You can do it all your life, not during the satsang. Just even your food, your langar should be had with reverence and in silence because you are thanking him after every morsel, and that is how it should be removed. Chai prasad, again, the tea that you are given. Have it with complete reverence and finish it. These are, Guruji would always say, this is not food, this is your medicine. So, Sangatji, with that, I will beg leave. I I've been very happy, delighted to have shared all the beautiful moments with Guruji. And I thank you all for opening your hearts, your minds, and having your presence and your beautiful energy. For some reason, one can always feel it, and we are all one big family. May Guruji bless you and yours. So let's stay connected. And yes, our big family is all there for each other. That is what Guruji would always say, that this is your family. They are going to have your back. They are going to be with you when you have a problem. So I'm seeing it is happening. And now it's a global family. So Jai Guruji, may Guruji bless you all. Thank you. Thank
Jai
you.
Guruji, Dhan Dhan
Jai Guru.
Guruji, Dhan Dhan Guruji Maharaj. Thanks a lot for sharing your experiences and your journey with Guruji Maharaj. Your messages were divine, blissful, and impactful.
All His Grace, Mr. Vasan. Who are
Yes,
we? All
very,
His Grace.
very right. We'll take Agya from Guruji Maharaj now. Jai
Ji,
Guruji, Shukrana Guruji.
Jai.